Reporting tonight, Anne Waodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, South Africa's EFF leader Julius Malema calls for continental unity and a single African presidency. Change of guard at Assembly in Benue. Alfred Berger emerges Speaker after Andona Dajo's resignation. Nigeria police in partnership with Interpol repatriates Chinese fugitive Dan Qicheng. And defined Volodymyr Zelensky vows Ukraine will keep fighting for freedom on Independence Day. The president of South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, Julius Malema, has called on African leaders to dismantle colonial boundaries and pursue continental unity under a single president, a single currency, parliament, and military command. Mr. Malema was speaking on Sunday while addressing thousands of lawyers and dignitaries at the Nigerian Bar Association's annual General Conference in Enugu.
I'm sure you've been having a great time.
It's the 2025 Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, and Enugu State is playing host to over 20,000 legal practitioners and distinguished guests from Nigeria and beyond who've converged here on the International Conference Center, Enugu, for the event. The chairman of the conference, and Sultan of Sokoto, delivers his remarks, charging the lawyers to uphold the sanctity of law and implement the outcome of the conference.
Today, justice is increasingly becoming purchasable commodity, and the poor are becoming victims of miscarriage of justice, while the rich commit all matters of crime and walk the streets scot-free. Precisely to ensure that everyone, including those in power, are subject to and accountable under the law, and that the law is applied fairly and equally, so that no one operates above the law.
The 32nd President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mazi Afam Osigwe.
The NBA president harps on the theme of the conference, Stand Out and Stand Tall, encouraging delegates to imbibe the theme despite what might be standing against the rule of law, the economy, and national development.
Let the conference inspire a fresh resolve that in every courtroom, boardroom, chamber, and community we touch, we will lead with excellence, with courage, and with vision. At this defining moment in our nation's history, where our democracy continues to evolve and our economic realities challenge us daily, we must collectively ask, how can the legal profession stand out in rebuilding confidence in our institutions? How can we lead national conversations that truly matter?
The keynote speaker and president of the South African Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, urges the Nigerian nation and the legal profession to look inward for the development of the country rather than rely on the West.
We demand one Africa. We demand borderless Africa. We demand Africa with one president, with one currency, with one military command, with one parliament, because we know the currency of Africa will be much more stronger against the American currency. We don't care what Trump thinks of us. He will never choose a policy position for Africans. We are not subject of Trump. We must refuse to be subjects of Trump. We must stand together as the world changes and show the world that Africa is one.
He believes that the time is right for the lawyers and the African nation to resist corruption, colonization, and bad leadership.
Today, as our continent is troubled by corruption, leaders who utilize state machinery to sustain their rule at the expense of the poor and the African lives in abject poverty. A question we all ought to ask ourselves is whether the time for the legal profession and the activists to once again stand up for what is right. We must all ask ourselves whether the time has not once again arrived for liberation to be achieved against the sale of our nation to recolonization, and whether this fight must not begin by reimagining our laws for the better. We must therefore reach into this deep history of resistance and solidarity which is shared by our two nations in order to achieve the goal of restoring the humanity of Africa and their people.
The host governor, Peter Mba, speaks on his administration's judicial reform, which he describes as a testament to his commitment to development.
We were among the first states to fully implement financial autonomy for the judiciary in line with Section 121, Sub 3 of the 1999 Constitution. This has enhanced the efficiency, independence, and dignity of our courts. To decongest our courts and promote alternative dispute resolution, we have strengthened and expanded the Enugu multi-door courthouse, making it a model in the region for commercial and family dispute settlement. Through partnership with civil society and the NBA, we have expanded access to pro bono legal services for indigent citizens and detainees, especially in our rural areas. No one should be too poor to afford justice.
The one-week event is expected to look at the state of the economy, tax reform, and the disruptive impact of artificial intelligence, amongst other issues of national discourse.